Hey! Hey! You better find yourself someplace to hide and keep praying nobody ever finds you.
Try these on.
Look, you crazy mother.
Put these on.
Hey! Stay away from me!
I'm telling you, you dumb. I'm trying to save you and your family's life.
What would you say is the greatest evidence of the flat Earth for you?
The greatest evidence of the flat Earth.
If it's not that, then there's got to be something else.
No. So it's interesting because, like, now that you challenge me on that, I would agree with you. But then let me have a caveat. Okay, so what's the greatest evidence for a flat Earth? We see flat horizons. We don't feel motion. We don't feel like we're spinning, wobbling, hurtling through space. The stars don't appear to change, year to year. I mean, obviously the stars are rotating, but the stars don't appear to change year to year. So clearly we're not moving through space. And then even when you get up as high as like an airplane flight, if you look down, like if you have a flight over water, like say you're flying over the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean, and you look down and you see the surface of the water looks perfectly flat. So I would say all those things put together, I would say, flat horizons, flat looking water, no sense of motion. I would say all these things are evidence that could support the flat Earth hypothesis.
Okay. All right.
And now can I have the caveat?
Yeah, go for it.
Then you start your exploration. You start your investigation, and then hopefully you will discover that the evidence doesn't end there. Every single thing I just named is 100% consistent with the heliocentric model. And so what you thought was evidence for a flat, just like the guy pulling the rabbit out of the hat, what you thought was evidence that there was this rabbit that was magically in this hat, what you thought was evidence is actually not evidence at all, because literally every single thing I just mentioned is completely consistent with the current heliocentric model. And that there's a bunch of evidence that is only possible in the heliocentric model and disqualifies the flat Earth.
Yeah.
But,
and I think that's kind of the thing here that I kind of strive to find and look for is there's one absolute truth, and that means that we can't have two pictures that everything matches up perfectly with. Would you agree with that? So I'm talking about getting the bigger picture in general. And so if I were to collect the entire big picture, one picture has to have contradiction. It's got to contradict itself somewhere. And another picture wouldn't. The true one wouldn't contradict.
Okay. Yes. If you say the true one would not have those contradictions built in, yes. I thought what you were going with was that every picture is going to have some sort of inherent flaws, and then I would just remind you of the Relativity of Wrong essay by Isaac Asimov, and I will link that in the description of this video. But no, that's not what you're saying. You're saying if you have two pictures and one's true and one's false, then at some point, if you investigate deeply enough, you'll find contradictions in the false one that won't happen in the true one. And then I think that's 100% correct.
Okay, good.
Flat Earth math. Even though you were not a flat earther back then, and you still are not a flat earther today, nor have you ever been, do you still stand by that and acknowledge that there's evidence for a flat Earth?
Kyle, there is no real evidence for a flat Earth.
Oh, no real evidence. That is a no true Scotsman argument. Please pay attention to the example used here. Angus declares that Scotsmen do not put sugar on their porridge, to which Lachlan points out that he is a Scotsman and puts sugar on his porridge. Furious, like a true Scot, Angus yells that no true Scotsman puts sugar on his porridge.
It is not an appeal to purity. It is an appeal to any sort of evidence that makes sense in any way, shape, or form. Requiring critical thinking is also not an appeal to purity.
How do you define real evidence?
Real evidence is 1. That which tends to prove or disprove something. Proof. 2. Something that makes plain or clear. 3. Evidence which doesn't require one to turn off his or her critical thinking skills and ignore disconfirming facts.
You should have no problem rejecting evidence for a globe then, since it appears to have caused you to turn off your critical thinking skills in considering it proven.
The proof of the pudding is in the eating. If we can send rockets into orbit around a globe Earth, it's kind of hard to say the Earth is not a globe. If all physical evidence, geodesy, high-altitude footage, weighing masses at different latitudes, celestial navigation, 2,000 years of astronomy, etc., all points to the globe, then it's hard to say it's not a globe.
That doesn't refute your self-contradiction of rejecting anything that causes you to turn off your critical thinking skills, yet accepting globe evidence even though you don't think critically about it.
Kyle, you're not making sense. Who is accepting the globe as evidence? The globe is the conclusion, based on 10,000 pieces of real evidence.
By your standard, when that evidence causes you to stop thinking critically about it, you should reject it as real evidence and stop referring to it as such.
Kyle, please stop lying. I've never, ever referred to or even hinted at evidence which causes you to stop thinking critically. Can you please tell the truth on these boards? I'm genuinely trying to have a conversation with you, but you make it very difficult with your daily dishonesty.
Whoa, you wrote this. Real evidence is evidence which doesn't require one to turn off his or her critical thinking skills and ignore disconfirming facts. I didn't lie.
Kyle, you're reversing cause and effect. I don't know of any evidence where, upon exposure, causes you to stop thinking critically, as if it were a neurotoxin. No, the turning off of one's critical thinking has to come first, then one accepts all sorts of poor evidence as if it were the gospel. Let's say some guy is telling tall tales and you say, you'd have to be an idiot to believe that story is true. This doesn't mean listening to the story turns you into an idiot. You have to start out that way, then you hear the story and you believe it because of idiocy.
So by your own admission then, flat earth evidence does not cause you to turn off your critical thinking skills, and you were just saying that because you were trolling.
Kyle, correct. If you have your critical thinking skills on, you can correctly evaluate this flat earth. I never claimed flat earth evidence causes people to turn off their critical thinking skills. If you have your critical thinking skills on, you can correctly evaluate flat earth evidence to see which bucket it falls into. And I have never, ever come across a single shred of flat earth evidence which withstands scrutiny. Ever. Just misunderstandings, memes, and misinformation. All three are in great supply here on Miro. Kyle, I agree with everything I said in 2021. Back then, I made the distinction between good evidence and bad evidence, with good evidence being rigorous. I also list quite a few pieces of evidence for a flat earth, but I never called any of it good evidence. You claim I've changed my definition of evidence, but that's not true. I'm starting to use the term real evidence, which I define as evidence that withstands scrutiny. This is akin to what I had 3 years ago called good evidence, to contrast it with bad evidence.
Being able to withstand scrutiny. That sounds like you're moving the goalpost away from your prior standard in regard to turning off your brain to critical thinking. But hey, you're just trolling, so I'll allow you to change the definition as you wish here. Do you agree that your new definition for real evidence, being able to withstand scrutiny, matches the definition of scientific proof?
Kyle, no. My definition for real evidence does not match the scientific definition for proof, which deals with math and logic, not physical science.
Do you agree that you have 5 fingers on your right hand is a logical statement based on axioms?
Kyle, no, I have 4 fingers and a thumb. Or I could have been in an industrial accident. You'll do well to not try to attach the word proof to scientific concepts.
Is your thumb a finger? Many medical professionals consider it a finger. Congrats at thinking for yourself and disagreeing with the mainstream. Do you agree that the claim that dogs are mammals is a logical statement?
No, dogs are mammals is not a logical statement. Neither term has been formally defined.
Do you agree that dogs are mammals is a provable statement?
No, dogs are mammals is not a provable statement. There is no proof in science.
Do you hereby disavow all proof of a globe?
Kyle, I'm not aware of any proof of a globe. How can I disavow something that does not exist?
Well, thank you for playing. It looks like it's game over for you. Saying or believing science never proves anything, and then coming to a debate, is like showing up to a soccer match and saying your team is unable to score any goals. It is automatic forfeiture.
This is Modern Earth Science Destroyed, Chapter 2.3, Artificial Satellites.
Before we begin, I must say, I've heard some comments concerning our title and the emphasis that it puts on the term destroyed. Some people have asked, why are you trying so hard to destroy what other people have built? Isn't it kind of rude to knock down someone else's block tower? Well, let's describe what a pitfall is. A pitfall is a trap where someone digs a hole and then covers it up to make it look like the ground around it. Then, when someone walks onto it, thinking it's solid ground, they fall into it. These are also called tiger traps, and sometimes people would put spikes on the bottom of them. From what I understand, these were unfortunately abundant throughout the Vietnam War. Now tell me, is it rude to expose and point out academic tiger traps like these and destroy them? No.
That is a really good way of looking at it. When a teacher or a textbook teaches a concept with little to no observations to back it up, they create academic tiger traps. I see no shame in destroying those.
Exactly. Now let's see what pitfalls we can find this time.
Chapter 2.3, Artificial Satellites.
If you drop a ball, it will fall straight down because the force of gravity pulls objects toward the center of the Earth. If you throw a ball horizontally, it will follow a curving path. The force of gravity still pulls the ball toward the Earth, but the ball also moves horizontally as it falls. The greater the speed at which the ball is thrown, the farther it will travel before gravity pulls it to the Earth's surface. For example, a ball thrown at about 8 kilometers a second and not slowed down by air resistance would follow the curve of the Earth. As shown in Figure 2-11, the ball would fall toward the Earth, but never reach the Earth's curved surface. Instead, the ball would become an artificial Earth satellite. A satellite is any object in orbit around another body with a larger mass. Do you see any pitfalls mentioned there?
Well, they did mention gravity 3 different times there. As I remember back in chapter 2.1, we pointed out how gravity is a fictitious force. Here is a link to that in case anyone missed it.
Yeah, treating fictitious forces as if they were real? That is just like treating this ground as if it were real. That is a pitfall for sure.
Galileo proved that gravity exists.
Hello, Brenda. Welcome to the board. Please expound on that. What do you claim Galileo did to prove that gravity exists?
Galileo showed that there exists a force which acts on all objects with mass. He was able to calculate it and show that all masses accelerate at the same speed. I did this in high school. Newton gave a better explanation, but it was Galileo who observed gravity.
Please continue to expound on that. What are you claiming Galileo specifically did to show that? Vladimir Math, would you like to say something to her to tell her why you don't believe Galileo proved anything?
Kyle, there's lowercase p proof used informally when just talking amongst normal people. Then there's uppercase p proof, which is used in formal settings. I'm pretty sure Brenda and I agree that there's no such thing as scientific proof, because proof only belongs in the realm of math and logic. But in the informal sense, did Galileo and Newton prove gravity? Sure, just not with a capital P.
Wow. Well, please explain why you don't believe Galileo uppercase proved gravity exists, and why you don't believe science never proves anything in the first place.
Science doesn't prove theories. It accumulates evidence for it.
Whoa, that was a quick resolution. You now agree that Galileo never proved the existence of gravity. Thank you for playing. Powered by Miro. Come join the conversation.